She stated that, quote, "The left continues to fail us in forging a new path forwards. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." Now, what's amusing about this, of course, is that it's pretty clear that Zegler is the one who doesn't know peace. She's obviously an emotionally unstable basket case who has no idea how to process the fact that none of her paranoia is based in reality.
Matt Walsh absolutely demolishes woke joke Rachel Zegler in an epic rant. Disney's new woke Snow White star Rachel Zegler was at it again with her libtardiness, if that's even a word, when she posted on X a long, whiny rant about Trump supporters. Ever since Trump was reelected, a lot of these unhinged woke lunatics do not know how to handle it, and Rachel Zegler is one of them. But let's see how Matt Walsh takes her down a peg.
On Disney's upcoming Snow White remake, somehow things get even worse than they were before. This is a production that went off the rails a long time ago, which is quite an achievement if you think about it. With all the money and technology we have in 2024, somehow Disney is struggling very hard to match the quality of a film from the 1930s. At first, there were the leaked images of the actors playing the seven dwarves, which weren't dwarves at all because that would be culturally insensitive. So instead, Disney replaced the dwarves with a diverse array of magical hobos. Then, when everyone pointed out that the dwarves are kind of important to the story, Disney delayed the production, fired all the actors playing the magical hobos, replaced them with CGI dwarves, which didn't look particularly convincing, but at least they were better than the actors. So some progress was made, I suppose. Goodwill was restored to a degree. Then the star of the film, Rachel Zegler, proceeded to light all that goodwill on fire. She made it clear that she thinks the story of Snow White is actually very creepy and misogynistic. She said Disney was basically going to throw out the old story, get rid of the prince, make a film that supposedly empowers women, and that means downplaying the whole romance thing, which was the whole point of the story. Hiring the Barbie screenwriter and going full-on girl boss was the plan. Then a short clip of the film surfaced online, and we saw exactly what a girl boss Snow White looks like. The clip showed Snow White directing the dwarves to clean their own cottage for her as she instructs them to whistle while they work. Yes, the dwarves come home from a long day at the mines, and they're met by a bossy, unpleasant woman telling them to clean up. Doesn't even help them in this version, which is a pretty big change from the original. She also doesn't seem remotely grateful that they're giving her a place to stay when she desperately needs it. Instead, she just sings along and watches the dwarves do all the work, almost sadistically, really. And once again, as you'd expect, this footage caused a backlash, and Disney quickly had it scrubbed from the internet. Then a couple of months ago, Disney uploaded this teaser for the film. This was their big moment to win back the fans. Here's just a quick part of it.
So, whistle while you work.
So the whole thing has this kind of uncanny valley vibe to it, and pretty much all the comments are negative. Just going through some of them. These are the top comments, in order, by the way. I'm not cherry picking. This is just the top comments. Here's what they say. Quote, "This is actually hilarious. The first Snow White saved Disney. The second ruined it." Another says, "What's the point of doing a live action remake of an animated movie if you're just going to animate half the characters anyway?" Then there's this one, quote, "It's okay, Disney. You could just cancel the film. We won't be mad if you admit defeat." There are a few people who point out that the trailer has more than 1 million dislikes on YouTube and fewer than 100,000 likes. This information that YouTube hides, but it's still accessible apparently. Comments go downhill from there. One reads, "Wow, Disney, you truly are incredible. It took you 3 years, multiple rewrites, unnecessary CGI, $209 million just for me to enjoy a comment section of a movie I will never watch. Bless you." Then someone writes, "I'm rooting for the poison apple." So you get the idea. Everything about this film is an unmitigated disaster. Even their teaser trailers are bombing. After all this, if there are any adults left at Disney, you'd think they'd be in damage control mode at this point. Maybe they can't control how bad this film is going to be. Maybe they can't improve the CGI on the dwarves anymore. Way too late for script rewrites. Costs a lot of money, and they're probably well over budget at this point. But at a minimum, you'd think that they could at least say, tell Rachel Zegler to stop talking like a deranged left-wing activist just for a little bit, just until the movie comes out. That might mitigate some of the potential future damage for this film, which is somehow already getting even worse press than Joker 2 and not even out yet. Telling Rachel Zegler to behave normally just isn't an option either. So the other day, in response to the presidential election, Zegler had a very public meltdown on her Instagram stories. She wrote, quote, "F you, Donald Trump." Then she proceeded to insult the 75 million Americans who voted for him. Quote, I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred, leading us towards a world I do not want to live in. Yeah, you always got to love starting with FU and then ending with, complaining about all the hatred in the world. Of course, if Zegler doesn't want to live in America anymore, she's free to leave. She certainly has the resources to do that. But she seems to suggest that Donald Trump will make the entire world uninhabitable, which, is kind of a new one. Actually, it's not entirely new. It reminds me of 2016 when Cher declared that she would have to leave the planet if Donald Trump won. And she never left, strangely enough, although she kind of looks like she did. And ironically, if she wants to leave the planet now, Elon Musk is probably her best bet, which raises its own complications, I guess. So these celebrities are really running out of options.
Yeah, it really does feel like 2016 again with all these deranged, unhinged lunatics with their meltdowns and these posts. I mean, Rachel Zegler, however you say her name. I'm surprised Disney hasn't canceled that movie. I mean, can't they get a tax write-off from it? At the very least, they should have just kind of rushed this out, kind of be like, all right, we're just going to put it out there, get whatever money we can, and just chalk this up to a loss. But this movie's not going to come out till 2025. And this woman, Rachel Zegler, she can't even shut up until then. Like, doesn't she realize what an ass that she's made out of herself already? Like, she's already a walking meme. Like, she's already a woke joke that no one takes seriously, that has a bad name. Like, she makes Brie Larson look likable. She makes Brie Larson look absolutely likable in comparison. Like, she surpassed Brie Larson. But you have all these Trump deranged lunatics with their meltdown. I'm like, you guys, how is it that these people lived through one Trump presidency and realize that all their worst fears didn't happen? There were no internment camps made for gay people or whatever it was. Women weren't made into the Handmaid's Tale. Like, none of these things happened. Like, they've already survived one term and they were fine. So how is it that they've got this deranged idea in their head that, oh no, this time around, this is when the Handmaid's Tale is going to come in, and this is where the internment camps are going to come in? They're out of their mind. What do you guys think? Are you guys going to be watching Snow White? Sound off in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel if you like content like this. Let's continue.
But Zegler wasn't done there. Her post added that Trump is, quote, leading us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in, leading us towards a world that will force her to have a baby she doesn't want, leading us towards a world that is fearful. She stated that, quote, the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forwards. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. Now, what's amusing about this, of course, is that it's pretty clear that Zegler is the one who doesn't know peace. She's obviously an emotionally unstable basket case who has no idea how to process the fact that none of her paranoia is based in reality, and the vast majority of Americans don't agree with her political views. So instead of coming to terms with her own faults and misconceptions, she says that she wants Trump supporters to suffer emotionally just as she does every single day. Misery loves company, as they say. In further examples of projection, Zegler went on to state that Trump voters are part of a, quote, deep, deep sickness in this country. She added, quote, there's no help, no counsel in any of them, whatever that means exactly. Then she told all of her fans to delete their X accounts, charging that Elon Musk helped get that man elected. This is a bit of an aside, but this is a common trend now on the left. They're suddenly abandoning X now that Trump has won. The Guardian just announced that it's going to stop posting its articles on X. For one example, ex-CNN anchor Don Lemon, along with a random NYU professor named Jay Rosen, did the same thing. I just saw this morning, Joy Reid has also deleted her X account. What a tragedy. This is a platform that until Election Day, these people claimed was a cesspool of fringe ideas and radical beliefs, but they remained on it anyway. And now that the election has proven that X is actually representative of mainstream thought in America, suddenly they can't tolerate it anymore. They have to abandon the platform. Doesn't really make any sense. You can only conclude that the left is simply incapable of realizing that they're the ones who are far outside the mainstream. When they're confronted with that evidence, they can't process it. So they have to scamper away. They're just totally humiliated. In any event, Rachel Zegler is not capable of experiencing humiliation, so she has no problem telling her supporters to abandon X entirely. She also has no problem going on an unhinged rant against more than half the country, including a lot of people that presumably Disney would like to sell tickets to. Many of those Republican voters are in the target audience for the Snow White remake. They're the people who like these kinds of traditional stories. They're the people who are having kids. These are the kinds of people Disney needs to show up if the movie is going to be remotely profitable. And now the star of the film is telling them all to go to hell. Now, one of the many ironies here is that about a year ago, Disney CEO Bob Iger said the company would stop getting involved in these political fights. He said that they wouldn't push any kind of agenda. He said they'd quiet the noise and proceed with decency and respect for their audience. Well, I guess so much for that. Now, according to the star of Disney's upcoming marquee film, 75 million Americans are horrible people who should suffer for all eternity. The other remarkable aspect to this is that Disney, as you may recall, fired Gina Carano for her allegedly controversial social media post just a couple of years ago. And, Gina Carano never did anything remotely like what Rachel Zegler has done. Gina mocked the idea of wearing masks and preferred pronouns, which makes sense because wearing masks and preferred pronouns are both really dumb ideas. And she pointed out that totalitarian governments make citizens hate one another, which is true. History proves that's true. And for all this, Disney fired her. And her talent agency dropped her on top of it. Gina Carano did not personally attack tens of millions of people. She didn't berate her own fan base. She didn't say that half of the people who watch Star Wars are bad people. She didn't say that. Instead, she articulated views that the vast majority of Americans agree with. So why is she still involved in litigation with Disney to get her job back while Rachel Zegler is the face of the company's upcoming blockbuster film? Now, we all know the answer to that question. Disney, despite what its CEO says, is an explicitly political operation. But more than that, they're vengeful. Even though it's clearly not helping them financially, they can't hide their disdain for tens of millions of Americans. That's very bad news for Disney shareholders and everyone else hoping that this company might one day return to what it once did, which is to create entertaining family films that normal people want to watch. It's virtually guaranteed the Snow White remake is going to continue crashing and burning over the next few months like a slow-moving train wreck. And especially now, after this was the nail in the coffin, now that you've insulted more than half of the people you would need to come watch this movie.
Well said by Matt Walsh. Yeah, Disney still has a lot of cleaning up to do. Even though they've done some improvements here and there, they had one movie that made money this year, the Inside Out 2 movie, which I saw like some of that movie. I didn't really pay close attention to it, but I saw a lot of it. And yeah, there weren't all these woke things in it like that Disney has been trying to do the last few years. So even though it seems like they're trying to tone down the wokeness, they're trying to get the woke jokes out of there, they still got a lot of cleaning up to do. And in Trump's new America, if they want to see any more success, they got way more cleaning up to do. And getting rid of this Rachel Zegler, I mean, I don't know why they haven't just released this movie and just chalked it up to a loss. Because they're just delaying the inevitable. We all know this movie's going to bomb. No one wants to see this movie. No one likes that movie. No one likes Rachel Zegler. She's completely helped to ruin any chances of success this movie would have had. It's not completely her fault, but a lot of it is. And why they're just delaying the inevitable, I don't know. But what are you guys' thoughts on this? Sound off in the comments below. Give this video a like if you liked it. And if you want to see more Matt Walsh takedowns, I got a whole playlist for you in the right-hand corner. If you want to see more lunatics have meltdowns and get embarrassed, I have a whole playlist for you on the left-hand side.